Okay, everybody, Bill Shaka here, welcoming you to another edition of the 5 Minute Motivator. Welcome to my home in Tamarindo, Costa Rica, where the sun is shining and the air is spectacular and the birds are being a true pain in the ass, but what are you going to do? Yep. And that gigantic mosquito that looked like a B-52 was ready to land on me. The mosquitoes are amazing in the tropics, and I don't just mean in Costa Rica. I mean they were like this in Thailand and in other areas that I travel to. They are literally like B-52s, and their proboscis is like a harpoon. They have a little meter on them to tell you how many gallons or pints they're leaving with. But what are you going to do? Anyway, what are we going to talk about today? How do we coach the bottom 1/3 of our employees? A sales manager called me and said, Bill, you know what? I find that if I break up my sales force into 3 groups, the group that's above average, the average group, and the group that's below average, I don't have to coach my above average group. They know what they're doing. The average group, I coach them in terms of how to get them to the above average. What do I do with the bottom third? And you know, it's an interesting problem, especially in terms of sales, where I'm going to try to focus this on. When an individual is driven by commission or the fact that they have to hold their salaried position by selling something, it makes you kind of wonder why they aren't doing what they should be doing. Now, if you've been in sales management for a while, you know as well as I do, there are a billion excuses as to why we missed our quota. You know, the moon is in the 7th house and Jupiter is aligned with Mars. There's a million reasons. I want to break this down. I've done this in other episodes of the 5 Minute Motivator from a management perspective. Let's talk about this from a sales perspective. People go where they're wanted. They stay where they're appreciated. So, here's the first question I have for you. Do the bottom third feel appreciated? Now, I know it's hard if they are consistently under quota to appreciate them. But here's a suggestion for you. One at a time. Take them out to lunch. Tell them that you value their contribution, but that they really need to step up the quota production. And that's a way of tempering what may in fact become the inevitable. Look at, I've hired hundreds of salespeople in my career, and I fired hundreds of salespeople in my career. And you know, it's funny, when you fire a salesperson, it's never their fault. It's always your fault. I can't tell you how many salespeople I fired that said, well, you know, you sucked as a manager. Well, you know, your products just weren't that good enough to sell. And you know what? I looked at, for example, the number of salespeople that I made successful, and I know I didn't suck as a manager. I mean, could I get better? Of course I could. Everybody can get better. I look at the products that were sold literally around the world, especially packaged products from third-party vendors, and I know that they sell well. No, I'm sorry. I have to hold a psychological mirror up to you. And some individuals that I really know, liked, and respected, I was harder on during the termination process because I wanted them to get better at their next job. Whether they did or not, I don't know. Normally when you fire a salesperson, you don't send each other holiday cards. Anyway, if a salesperson is having trouble in one aspect of sales, you can train them. Okay? If they don't know how to do something, you can train them. If they don't want to do something, that's different. That's termination. If you're telling them to do something, I want you to make 100 phone calls between 9 a.m. and noon, and they don't do it, that means they don't want to. Okay, and in that regard, that means that you have every right in the world to start looking at the termination process because they're not doing what they should be doing. So I want you to think about this. The best way to coach, I think, the bottom third is to help them understand that their contribution is valuable. And it can be valuable if they, in fact, become average or above average. You know, a sales manager's job never ends. You are constantly looking at what you can do to raise the bar on your people because it's only going to make them more successful. It's going to make you more successful. The customers are going to be happier because they purchased. You know, ladies and gentlemen, a terrible thing happens if a sale doesn't occur. Nothing. we need to be able to make sure that our salespeople are trained to be the best that they can for themselves, for you, for the company, and for the world. Bill Shaka, thanking you for attending another edition of the 5 Minute Motivator.